Right now, people are spreading rumors that the fourth Shinso has appeared. The fourth Shinso is said to be a ruthless vampire, not controlled by AI, immortal, and has no AI relatives. This is our main character, Akatsuki Kozo. He is currently being supervised by his best friend Ra to help him with his summer homework because he skipped all his classes and also missed the tests. His friend Asagi also thinks that he is not a vampire, so why does he have to be so sluggish every morning like that? She came here to supervise out of pity for him, but she feels like she is riding on the hard work of others. But it's Ra who lent him money, so he should remember to pay it back. Asagi had to leave for something else, so Ra went home too. Mizaro also had to go home and saw that his money was no longer enough to take the train. He then walked on the street complaining about the heat and felt like he was being followed. He entered the mall and realized he was indeed being tailed. He then went into a nearby store, and the girl following him didn't know how to walk through the automatic door. He noticed that the girl was wearing his school uniform, so he went out to confront her. When the girl saw his face, she called him Shinso the Fourth, but he pretended to be a foreigner who didn't know anything. She called his name directly, and he thought she had mistaken him for someone else and walked away. But the girl still followed him outside. Suddenly, he noticed that the girl was being lured by two other guys. He really wanted to help, and when he saw the two guys starting to get more aggressive, he turned back. But the girl fought back on her own, and the two guys revealed themselves to not be ordinary humans. One guy was knocked down, while the other turned out to be a vampire. But the girl was also a battle mage, so these types were no match. The other guy unleashed his power, causing an alert for citizens to evacuate. He summoned a horse with magic, and the girl took out a spear. She charged in and defeated the horse with a single strike and aimed for the guy, forcing Mizaro to intervene. He let the young man take his buddies away and warned him not to mess with schoolgirls again, or he would have to face the consequences. The guy left, and the girl didn't understand why he stopped her, because clearly the guy was in the wrong and violated the pact by using his power in public, so no one would object if he was killed. He thought she was the one who acted first and wanted to kill someone just for being exposed. She knew he had seen it too, but just as she finished speaking, the wind blew again, making him see it once more. She claimed she would stab him, but that was due to her oversight. She then called Mizaro disgusting and walked away. But Mizaro later discovered that the girl had dropped her wallet and ID. He picked it up and discovered the girl's name was Himazagi. This place is Itagami Island, an island located in the Pacific Ocean, 300 kilometers from Japan, built from metal and magic. This city was created for non-human beings that the world and government authorized to live here. In return, they would be researched. You were originally an ordinary student until 3 months ago when you mysteriously discovered you had become a fourth Shinso. The next day, you took the wallet to school to find your classmate Himazagi to return it, but her teacher wasn't here, so you had to hold on to it and return it later. You then went through the wallet and found it smelled quite nice, and the thirst for blood rose again, but you managed to regain control. Coincidentally, Himazagi saw this. She asked for the wallet back, but you didn't return it right away because you wanted to know why she was watching you. She intended to take the wallet by force, but hunger struck, so she unwittingly offered to treat you to lunch as a thank you. For finding the wallet, the two of you went to eat burgers, and Himazagi mentioned she came from the Lion Mage organization. That organization was established to prevent large-scale disasters and magical terrorism. Since you are a Shinso, a being considered extremely threatening, she was assigned to monitor you. She thought there must be some reason you were hiding on this island and concealing your identity, but you had lived here long before becoming a vampire. She didn't believe you could turn from an ordinary human into a vampire. You tried to remember when you had contact with the previous Shinso. That memory gave you a severe headache. Himazagi decided to trust you because she noticed you didn't even know your current position. So if she sees you as a threat, she will be there monitoring you to prevent you from becoming a danger to this world. A few days ago, Himazagi was called in by her superiors to inform her about the fourth Shinso. The fact that beings considered enemies of humanity still exist is due to world governments agreeing to maintain balance. However, the existence of the fourth Shinso would disrupt that balance. They showed her a picture of you and informed her that you are the fourth Shinso. At that moment, they gave her a spear capable of exterminating demons and requested her to monitor you. If she was sure you were a threat, she had to eliminate you immediately. Back in the present, you have finished your summer vacation and discovered Himazagi is moving in right next to your house for easier monitoring. You didn't want to make it difficult for her, so you told her to take her time preparing her things while you waited. She didn't need to rush. You then went to school to submit a report to your teacher Natsuki. Despite looking young, she is 26 years old, an attack mage, and one of the few who knows you are the fourth Shinso. She then asked about the 2 recent attacks and realized you didn't know anything, so she let you go. As she was about to leave, you asked about the Lion Mage organization. She asked why you knew that name, and you made up a story. She informed you that the Lion Mage organization is their enemy and also a competitor. It's just unfortunate she told you that too late. You then went shopping with Himazagi for household supplies. After a day of shopping, both of you returned and were seen by Ecchi. When you got home, you introduced your younger sister Nagisa to Himazagi, but they already knew each other since Himazagi had transferred to Nagisa's class and they had become friends. Moreover, Nagisa knew about Himazagi moving in and had prepared food to celebrate. When you got home, Nagisa made food while Himazagi helped her with homework. Although she is in middle school, she has learned all the knowledge of high school. She noticed that you used to be on the basketball team, and you were very outstanding at that time, but gradually became arrogant and ended up lonely among the team, so you quit. From then until you gained this power, you thought about trying to use your power to help the world, but then you realized you couldn't change in that way. So you chose not to get involved with this power and live like an ordinary person. To be honest, you feel that the power of a Shinso is beyond your ability. After the meal, Nagisa felt quite happy that Himazagi lived nearby. She intended to go out to buy some drinks when she saw Himazagi rushing out. She was showering when she heard you go outside, so she had to rush out to follow you. You wanted her to dry off and said you would wait. 2 of you then walked and chatted. You asked about Himazagi's past, and she said she and other orphan children were brought in and trained by the organization, but she never felt lonely because she had friends around. Himazagi then noticed a claw machine and seemed to like it, so you won her a prize. Suddenly, both of you were spotted by Konatsuki. You still hadn't revealed yourself, and suddenly there was an explosion, so you took the opportunity to pull Himazagi away. Both of you saw that the explosion was caused by a magical beast, so Himazagi told you to go home while she handled it. She took the spear and ran, then discovered that the magical beast was being crushed and absorbed by a hand. She then found the owner of the magical beast being attacked by a dangerous man. He recognized Himazagi's spear and knew she was from the Lion Mage organization. He introduced himself as a demon extermination expert from the Western Church, but didn't know why someone like him was here. 2 sides then engaged in battle, and Himazagi sustained a wound to her thigh. The other man then called out a girl, and she was the one controlling the hand that absorbed the magical beast. She completely overpowered Himazagi, and she realized she would die after taking this hit. In that moment, she thought of you, and suddenly you appeared to block the attack for her. You then charged into battle, but got injured from a punch. But that very action triggered the Shinso power within you unconsciously. The 2 noticed something was wrong and retreated. The next morning, the news reported that an explosion had occurred last night. Although there were no casualties, it caused power outages for 20,000 homes. The railway connecting the 2 islands has been destroyed, and the estimated damage is around 50 billion. She feels quite responsible for this damage. But Himazagi didn't report last night's incident to the superiors because he caused that damage while saving her. When they arrived at the train station, the electric train was also affected by the damage, so Himazagi felt he was overreacting, but he couldn't control his power. He admits he inherited the beast from the previous Shinso, but the beast does not accept him as its master. So normally, he can still call them, but he can't fully control them. She doesn't understand how he is the 4th Shinso but can't control the beast. He thinks it's because he is still a vampire, meaning he has never fed on anyone's blood. Suddenly, Jose comes over and sees that he seems to have made a pretty cute junior acquaintance. When she arrives in class, she sees Asagi looking a bit tired from last night's incident, so she was called by the island management group to revise the system. She accidentally apologized and then made up an excuse for that apology. Asagi then intended to lend him the report to write, but the boys suddenly started talking about a cute new girl who transferred in. Knowing that she has a younger sister in the same class, they came to ask him to help introduce her, and as expected, the girl they were talking about is Himazagi. Asagi recognizes that he and Himazagi were together yesterday, and Konatsuki also asked him to bring Himazagi to meet her after lunch, because last night she wanted to know what they did after running away from her. Everyone thinks she is trying to date two guys at once since she has Asagi, but he only sees Asagi as a friend, which makes her angry, and she will always report it and not lend him anything anymore. When meeting the teacher, she informed both of them that there have been 6 similar explosions last night in the past 2 months. 2 young men who teased Himazagi last time were victims of one of the 6 explosions, and one of them has been rescued and is still unconscious. The reason she called them both is that she wants them to avoid going out at night from now on because it is very dangerous. She then went home, and the teacher returned the cat that she had caught last night and forgotten. Himazagi then asked her what she thought about the enemies they encountered last night. Himajiji thinks they should catch those 2 before the police do. If they do that, it would be easier for her to explain that he is innocent and not a threat to the superiors. Himajiji has investigated the places where that Western Church guy might be hiding, but she believes that if he is hiding, he would choose the previous headquarters of the Western Church to avoid detection. He thinks the island management group might have information, so he went to find Asagi and asked her to help. She is still jealous of Himazagi, but when she hears this is his private matter, she reluctantly helps and found a position. Both quickly reached that place, and Himazagi saw it was a completely reasonable spot for that guy to hide. She wanted Koro to stay outside because he moved too amateurishly, but he was worried about Himazagi, so he would still follow. When they reached the door, they found it locked, but this was an illusion, and Himazagi easily dispelled it. As they entered, they saw many test tubes, and the girl who consumed beasts appeared. She wanted both of them to leave quickly, because the island would sink soon. That guy appeared from behind and said they would steal the energy source that was supporting the island. Koro was very angry, not only because he intended to destroy this place, but also because he had implanted beasts into this girl. That would drain her life force at a terrifying rate. And he had let her consume beasts to sustain her life. He saw this girl as nothing more than a tool, but he believed the Lion King organization saw Himazagi and the other children as nothing more than tools either. Koro wouldn't allow him to insult Himazagi, so she unleashed her power, but he also had this girl activate the beast. When he charged in to attack, he was knocked back. Just as Magaji charged into battle, she realized the magic nullification power she had from her spear had been copied by him. Only through the previous fight with her did she see that it was her fault that Koro had become useless. She was then knocked away, and that guy swung his axe to deal with her. Koro stood in front to shield her. He didn't care and pressed harder, cutting her in half. Himagami couldn't believe she had died right in front of him, so he could only hold his head and cry. That guy ignored both of them and continued on to fulfill his purpose. Meanwhile, at the Asagi Island Management Corporation, the AI she created, Mockwhite, was repairing some things in the server when suddenly an earthquake occurred. Mockwhite reported that they had an intruder, and the security team was fighting them at a pillar, which caused the tremors. 2 members of the Western Church had succeeded in penetrating deeper after killing all the guards. Koro had also regained consciousness. Himazagi stated that a moment after he died, all his wounds and blood had healed as if time was reversed. She scolded him for having the ability to recover without telling her, but he didn't even know he had that ability. Himazagi believed he shouldn't risk his life for her, since she had no AI relatives, so nobody would be sad if she died. He pinned Himazagi down and started to show himself as a pervert, so she didn't need to sacrifice her life for someone like him. He then let Himazagi sit up, and another earthquake occurred, but this was an artificial island, so it was unusual. Asagi messaged that she was trapped in an area under attack, so Koro had to act immediately. He called Asagi to ask if she was okay, and if the attackers were an old man and an artificial beast. Once he was sure, he told Asagi to stay calm and let him know which direction they had gone. When he learned they were targeting the deepest part of the pillar that held the island steady, he wondered what treasure that guy was looking for. Asagi had Mockwhite try to find out, but it was a military secret, so she had to break through the firewall to figure out what the treasure was. She informed Koro, and he was now wondering if there was a way to save all the people on the island. When Mezagi decided to offer her blood for Koro to suck because he said he couldn't control the beasts since they didn't accept him, then let him suck her blood and gain strength from it to save the people on the island. She knew he wanted to stop that church member, and this was the only way he had. Koro finally embraced Himazagi and decided to suck her blood. That guy had now reached the room containing the treasure and was overjoyed that something belonging to the church was about to be retrieved. But Koro and Himazagi had found him. He knew the treasure he mentioned was the arm of the saint who served the Western Church. That arm was considered a relic of someone who had pulled the power of the 4 great spirit beasts here to create a dragon vein to build this island. But the golden dragon, the leader of the 4 spirits, had not accepted it, causing this island to lack a solid foundation. So he defiled the arm with heretical magic and took the body of the saint they worshipped here as a vessel for the curse. He saw that as blasphemy, and this was his way of taking revenge on this city. He thought someone like you had no right to interfere, but he didn't care that over 50,000 people in this city would die. Himazagi believed if he filed a complaint, he could get the arm back, but he didn't want to let it go that easily. Koro had to jump down to fight. He summoned lightning around him and thought now would be his battle. "No, Senpai, this is our battle." He then charged in and threw a punch. He dodged it and saw that although Koro still moved clumsily, his strength had increased significantly. He decided to show off his special golden armor to charge in for an attack, so Koro had to use his power as well. He ordered the summoning of his 5th beast, the Thunder Lion. The lion appeared and charged at him, forcing him to call the artificial beast to defend. Even though he used a beast, her magical shield was still active. But Himazagi charged in, using her spear to break the armor, allowing Koro to strike lightning and defeat that artificial beast. While that guy was confronted by Himazagi, she charged in with a palm strike, delivering a penetrating blow and letting Koro finish it off. He then embraced Himazagi and ran down to suck the blood of that artificial girl to help her control the beast inside her and prolong her life. Himejiji realized he had used her as a medium to stimulate instinct, so she hits you once. In the meantime, Jace noticed that Miss R.O. had a partner to draw blood, and Miss R.O. would soon become a true Shinso. Miss Crow seems to be Miss Natsuki, who believes that having Himazagi nearby will help her become Miss Rose Queen. Overall, Miss R.O. still has a long and difficult road ahead. The next day, Miss R.O. saw Himazagi packing her things to return due to violating some orders and damaging the spear. But the spear was sent back after being repaired, and she could continue her monitoring duties. The next day, Himazagi went to get a blood test, and her blood was still safe. But Nagisa and Asagi came to ask him to clarify. Asagi also wanted to know what relationship Himazagi had with Miss R.O. He was misunderstood harmfully. The goat over there saw the strongest vampire now has a new challenge. One night, there was a beastman on the run. After his smuggling operation was exposed, he intended to blow it up to erase the traces when Konatsuki appeared and told him that she had disposed of all his bombs. He didn't know she was an AI until he saw how quickly she moved. Then he realized she was the rumored Void Witch. She then tied him up and left the guards to finish up, because she had to go back to prepare for class the next day. The next morning, the bride heard that his mother was coming back, so she went to the room to ask her sister. Trying to enter, she caught Himazagi changing clothes. He said this was an accident, but still, He was awkward on the train, so he had to explain again, but his sister and Himezagi still wouldn't believe it. Nagisa thought he should have knocked, and had already told him that Himezagi would come over this morning. But he didn't hear, which is why this happened. This morning, Himezagi and Nagisa needed to take measurements for the cheerleading uniforms because the boys in the class had begged Shin Himezagi to be a cheerleader to boost their strength for the tournament. Both sisters would also cheer for him at the upcoming sports event if he participated. When they got to the locker, Asagi came over and asked him to hold her racket bag. She asked him if he was participating in any events, and he asked the class leader for the easiest one. Coincidentally, when he arrived at class, the goat saw that he had already brought his gear and teammates along, because he and Asagi would be teammates in the doubles badminton event. The class leader intended to threaten to reveal that Asagi loved Miss R.O. And Miss R.O. also felt fine with badminton, so both were chosen. In the meantime, Konatsuki had gone to see a certain doctor. This guy was behind Sai, causing the beast man she had captured last night. This guy could also shapeshift. Then Konatsuki handed over the artificial girl Atat that she had acquired from the previous incident, handling it with just one punch from the beast. The doctor was knocked out and tied up. Asagi then went to change clothes to practice. The class president wants her to confidently show her personality to win over Koro. Otherwise, she will be stolen away by Himezagi. At this moment, Koro feels that the gym looks too cozy in an unnecessary way. So he tells everyone to practice first while he goes to stretch and wait for Asagi. He goes out to buy a can of soda and intends to sit down when he is attacked. He dodges and discovers a golden lion facing him. Right after that, a silver wolf runs up, and Himezagi has to come to help him. She handles both beasts and explains that they are shikigami, and they are usually used to send messages. She is seen by two friends while holding a spear, so she has to catch them and erase their memories. But she wants him to relax because she is no different from a cosplayer at that moment. He then sees a letter sent to him, and Asagi, seeing the two of them and the letter, thinks it's a love letter from Himezagi, so she doesn't want to disturb them and leaves. Koro later learns that this letter is sent by Lord Demichi. He is a noble from Eastern Europe. Lord Demichi is said to have served under the first Shinso. Being a noble, he is a pure-blood vampire, and the fact that such a noble seeks him must be to meet the new Shinso. He is invited to a party and must choose an AI to accompany him. He thinks of inviting Konatsuki, because Konatsuki knows he is an AI and is strong enough to take care of herself. But Himezagi seems to want a different answer, so she invites herself. But she doesn't have a party dress. Suddenly, just as they return home, the Lion King organization has already sent a party dress, and Himezagi's measurements on it. She hid him so he would forget what he just learned. The two then went to the yacht where the party was held and boarded it. Looking around, they don't see Lord Demichi anywhere, so they head upstairs to check. But they are suddenly attacked, and Koro manages to block it. In fact, Lord Demichi is testing the two of them. He then sends his warmest and deepest greetings to the fourth Shinsu. Akatsuki Kozo suddenly gets hit by flying plates. A girl jumps down. She is Sasuke, and is Himezagi's close friend in the Lion King organization. She is very dissatisfied that the organization lets Himezagi supervise the fourth Shinsu alone. She has the duty to escort Lord Demichi and seems to have little fondness for Koro. She is the one who attacked him at school to send the letter, and she has a style of fighting that leans more towards assassination than direct confrontation like Himezagi. Meanwhile, Asagi is calling Jeiza to talk about Koro secretly with Himezagi, but he thinks maybe Himezagi is the one seducing Koro, so he tells her to try to seduce him and see what happens. Asagi then receives a puzzle sent by that AI and a challenge to solve it, so she decides to prove just how smart she is. Meanwhile, Koro is listening to Demichi talk about Aurora. Aurora is the third Shinsu and has had her power absorbed by him. He is Aurora's lover and tries to approach him, causing him to state clearly that he is not her lover. He then hears Himezagi introduce herself, and he can smell her blood within Koro, proving that she is the partner who helped him control the magical beasts. But aside from that, Himazagi and Koro want to know the other reason why Demichi called them here. He talks about a guy named Christopher, a notorious terrorist in Europe. That guy leads an extremist organization that has caused over 400 deaths. That organization was shut down by him before, but this Christoph has been hired as the new leader. And unfortunately for them, that guy is currently on this island. I must have been careless and let him slip through. He wants to eliminate Christoph, and if he accidentally sacrifices himself, his magical beasts will flood out and destroy the whole island. So he wants to meet Koro to apologize beforehand if he fails. But Himazagi has set a condition to go with Koro to catch that guy in his place. He wants her to think carefully because Koro's magical beasts are even more dangerous than his. Himazagi promised him, so he also wants to see what her capabilities are. When they both leave, Sasuke seems to have even more malice towards Koro. The next morning, Koro finds Asagi back in his bed. She wants to tease him a bit, but he tells her to get down. The two fumble around and end up falling down. Just then, two little sisters walk in and think both of them need some private time, so they leave. Sasaka lets Shikigami see this scene and grows even more resentment. When they arrive at the train station, Himazagi is still angry with him. He tries to explain that Asagi was teasing him, but she believes the problem lies in the fact that he might suddenly have a bloodlust and bite Asahi. The two then go to school and head to Ms. Natsuki's office. They discover that Atate has been taken in by her as a maid. Ms. Natsuki asks why they are looking for her, and they get straight to the point about wanting to find that Christopher guy. She knows they got this name from Demichi and asks them not to get involved in this matter, because the ancient weapon he is looking for is no longer usable. The weapon he is searching for is an ancient type of weapon, but all the AIs intending to decode how to use it have been captured by her. That weapon is being guarded and shows no signs of becoming operational again. The two are chased away by Konatseki, and Koro plans to ask Asagi for help in finding information. Himazagi asks him again about biting her, but he doesn't want to force her. However, his answer comes off as childish, which makes Himazagi sulk and leave. He then goes to class and asks Asagi to find out about the weapon Konatsuki mentioned. Both of them went together, and Goat also took the opportunity to use his ability to listen in on information from both of them. They both entered the teacher's lounge to use the computer, and found images of that biological weapon. Suddenly, the teacher walked in, causing both of them to hide under the cover. Ms. Doe realized she was wearing the earrings he gave her and had a nosebleed. The two of them then escaped to the rooftop with Asagi. She went away for a moment and then came back, but just as she left, Sasaka rushed in to take his life because he dared to suck Himazagi's blood and pushed Himazagi into danger. Himazagi was the only friend she had, so she couldn't let him take her away. Himazagi had to come to seal him, and wanted both of them to reflect on their actions. Nagisa also ran over, and both of them took Asagi to the infirmary. Goat's ability was temporarily damaged due to the recent shockwave caused by Koro. Himazagi and Nagisa were informed by Atate that Asagi was just a little shaken. Asagi then woke up, and Nagisa thought that Koro had done something to her. She didn't remember much about what happened on the roof and at SAO. Koro was attacked by a girl. Himazagi apologized because her friend was jealous of Koro, which caused this incident. Meanwhile, the two people over there were arguing about Himazagi. Sasaka openly despised Koro. She claimed to understand Himazagi the best, but Ms. Doe believed she only understood Himazagi's appearance, while he understood her inner personality. Sasaka admitted that he also deserved to be her rival. Suddenly, there were some intruders at the school. Atate informed that those guys were beastmen and were heading this way. They then broke in, and Nagisa panicked and screamed. One of them was about to shoot to silence her, so Himezi had to knock Nagisa out to save her friend. Christopher appeared and wanted to capture Asagi. Atate tried to fight back, but was immediately shot. The two people over there heard the gunshots and immediately ran down. Meanwhile, Goat discovered that Asagi's group had been taken away. Koro's group arrived at the infirmary and found only Atate injured there. Goat was now following the vehicle, carrying Asaji and her 2 younger sisters. He had bitten a pill to ride the wind quickly. He noticed Kristoff was taking the 3 girls to the airport and getting them off the island. He had swallowed all the pills to send his SAO version following them, but the SAO was immediately shot down by Dimitri. He then wanted to break Jazz because he wanted to leave this matter for Koro to handle. Jazz was shot and fell into the river. Meanwhile, Asaji has informed Himazagi that Nagisa had previously experienced an accident related to demons and nearly died. That's why Nagisa is so scared and panicked. Asaji also apologized for dragging Himazagi into this because she knows she is their target. Kristoff has entered and informed Asaji about her abilities in SAO. He needs someone to decrypt how to control biological weapons, so he sent a puzzle to over 100 hackers, and she was the fastest to solve it. He still has many other pieces and wants her to help decrypt them, but she refuses. So he stated that he currently only has the activation command but cannot control the weapon. So if it destroys the entire island, he doesn't care. Ryo and Suzaka have been blocked by the island's guards, so they had to take another route to reach the dock. Ryo mentioned that he can only use 1 beast right now, so it will be quite difficult to fight. He then carried Sasuke and jumped to the other side, but she jumped down, almost making him fall. Both of them entered together and met Natsuki. She wanted both of them to stay out of this, but it was too late to back out. Suddenly, all 3 were interrupted by Dimitri. He wanted to see if the weapon could operate in SAO. Meanwhile, Himazagi didn't understand why Dimitri was cooperating with him, because she noticed his people were on Dimitri's ship. He believed that Dimitri was simply seeking pleasure in destroying a weapon powerful enough to eliminate Shinso. It truly is the perfect cure for boredom. Kristoff then left, and Nagisa suddenly appeared, behaving as if possessed by that AI. Nagisa told Asaji to decrypt all the commands. Down there will be their distraction, as Megaji borrowed Asaji's phone to call Ryo. Ryo wanted to know how much longer Dimitri intended to stand there and where his ship was now. He mentioned that his ship had been seized by Christopher, and that he had captured a goat here to return to Ryo. He would take responsibility for destroying that weapon. He then charged forward and combined his 2 snakes to fight. But when Megaji called and requested Ryo not to destroy the weapon, Ryo understood her words and charged at Dimitri, wanting him to back off so he could handle it. He could only attack when he had been defeated by that thing. He had to let him fight and destroy the bridge, so the island guards couldn't enter and hinder him. Once he was sure there were no guards left here, he asked Natsuki to take care of Asaji's group and charged into battle. He continued charging forward, dodging the laser beams, but as he slipped back, he couldn't avoid the next blow, forcing Suzaka to jump out and block the attack for him. She then charged forward with her sword to attack the weapon but was unharmed. Dimitri knew her sword could cut through anything, but it couldn't handle this biological weapon, because this thing can evolve to adapt and counter every ability of its opponents. Ryo then had to come to take Suzaka to safety for a moment. Although he was injured, he didn't pay much attention to it. The weapon started flying away, forcing him to call the lion out to respond. But he let the lion stab the biological weapon, causing it to fall and break the ground where he was standing. Both fell down below, so they had to try to find a way back up before that weapon. Ryo asked Suzaka if she was okay, because Himazagi mentioned she had issues with touching boys, but now both had no time to worry about that. Because the weapon was climbing up, Asagi was almost done decrypting the commands, and Himazagi went outside and took down 2 beastmen guarding outside. She then snuck into the storage room and discovered there were many biological weapons inside. Christopher's goal was to control an entire army of biological weapons. He then transformed and charged to attack her. Both ran outside to fight, and a spear flew towards Himazagi. Jays was the one who threw it, and with the spear, Himazagi only needed 1 strike to take one of Christopher's arms. However, he successfully gained control of the weapon from Asaji. Meanwhile, Suzaka and Ryo were stuck down there. He couldn't use the lion here because it would endanger everyone. He saw Suzaka was soaked, so he gave her his jacket to wear temporarily. He then asked Ryo if she was very big, right? What she meant was her height. Being taller than others made her always have to act like the big sister, but when Ryo carried her, she quite liked it. She hugged Ryo and wanted him to suck her blood, although she still feared she was betraying Himizagi. But he was the only one who made her feel safe instead of scared like other men. Jaeger felt helpless because he was an observer and couldn't participate in the battle. But Rose summoned another divine beast and rode it out of the hole. Kristoff had left, leaving his underlings to handle Himizagi. But Konatsuki had come to help, asking Himizagi to break the barrier around the yacht for her to get on. She would take care of these two, while Himizagi should continue with her unfinished work, because Ro didn't need her help much right now. Suddenly, Moke White called Himizagi to guide her on how to control these biological weapons. Kristoff then drove the leading biological weapon out to confront Ro. Although he blocked it, his attack still got through and flew into the city. Demichi still wanted to assist him, but he insisted he didn't need it, stating that this was his battle now, not Senpai's, but ours. Himizagi returned to fight alongside him. Seeing Suzaka wearing Ro's jacket, Himizagi decided to discuss this later. They then fought against the biological weapons, but the more they fought, the more they recovered with their growth mechanism. Her lion is no longer a threat. But Himizagi informed Asagi. She helped them by setting a self-destruct command, just as they were recovering. She just needed to get inside the Lord and let Mock White execute that command, and those guys would be taken care of automatically. The problem is how they would get to the Alpha. Sarika could handle that. She transformed her sword into a bow and shot a spell into the sky, causing the small weapons to become inactive. Himizagi and Koro rushed to the Alpha. Himizagi dealt with Christopher, while Koro targeted the Alpha with two beasts, causing it to become inactive for a moment. Taking advantage of that, Himizagi threw in the phone, and Mock White activated the command, causing all the biological weapons to petrify and shatter. Himizagi now asked about Koro having sucked Sazaka's blood. When she heard that Sazaka had willingly allowed him to suck, she felt relieved, fearing he had forced Sazaka. Meanwhile, Demichi had gone home and found it somewhat entertaining for a while, but government officials approached him and invited him to take on the role of special ambassador. He accepted because it would give him the entertainment he wanted. She asked what happened, and Ms. Du informed her that everything had been resolved. The next day, while on the train, Ms. Juki recalled Asahi's kiss, prompting Himizagi to ask what he was hiding. But he only reminded Himizagi to dress nicely, and that was it. He also mentioned that Sazaka had been calling him lately. She had no reason to call. Himizagi suspected Sazaka had changed towards her. Then, when they arrived at class, Jays noticed he looked sleep-deprived. The class president realized he was having issues with girls, leading him to think she really could read fortunes. Asagi also arrived, and she was sleep-deprived from the night before, so the class president had a chance to tease both of them. Seeing Ms. Ro deep in thought, Asagi called him to the art room during lunch. They both went there, and Ms. Ro had to model for Asagi. She wanted him to perk up, but since... when does a model have to cater to the artist's wishes? She then pulled out a bunch of costumes from the drama club for him to wear, but he refused to put them on, so Asagi would wear them too, to ease his embarrassment. She took off her clothes first, leaving him no choice but to comply. She then wore a maid outfit, while Ms. Du wore a waitress outfit. Asagi took a few pictures for memories, and he also took some just in case she would use them to blackmail him. She then took a picture with him and asked what he was hiding from her lately. He couldn't say anything yet, so she scheduled him to come back this weekend, and he could answer if he wanted to. He then met with Himizagi and asked her about the issue that was troubling him. That's how you should respond to Asagi. You've dragged Asagi into a lot of things, but you can't let her know that you are the fourth Shinso. But you also can't keep hiding it and put her in danger any longer. You realize that you truly cannot live a selfish life now that you've become the fourth Shinso. Himizagi acknowledges the effort you've put in so far, so she believes you still have the right to be selfish, and whether to tell Asagi or not is up to you. However, if you decide to reveal it, what you need to worry about is Nagisa, not Asagi. Suddenly, both of them noticed Nagisa being approached by a classmate. Nagisa just received a letter, and you didn't think your sister would be confessed to. But Himazagi had informed you how popular your sister is in class. You received a call from Soraka that night. She mentioned that this weekend she would start coming to this island for work, as she has been assigned to be a bodyguard for an important person. You understood that she was calling to complain about how busy she would be, so she would call less often. Although it wasn't quite what she thought, she accepted what you said. Later discovered there was a fire in the city. The next morning, you decided to check on Nagisa because you were worried about the confession from yesterday. Seeing Himazagi, she followed you afterward. Both of you went up to the rooftop and overheard some misleading words. So Kuro kicked the door open, but only saw your sister and her friend from yesterday playing with cats. Both of them were looking for someone to take care of these cats. The reason she didn't tell both of you was that their apartment complex doesn't allow pets, so she didn't want to involve Himazaki. Feeling sad that she couldn't help, she also didn't want to put Himazagi in a difficult position, so she didn't say anything. These cats were entrusted to her by her classmate, Kanon. She later met Kanon and found her quite cute. Kanon has been classmates with Nagisa since last year. At that time, Kanon was quite shy and was often ostracized by many, but Nagisa told Kanon that she wasn't actually being ostracized. It's just that the boys found her too cute, so they made a rule not to interact and could only admire her from afar. Since Himazagi arrived, the boys' fan club has 2 idols, and they often gather to curse at her for Kuro's red dog. After that, thanks to Himazagi and Kuro helping with the cats, she still had work at the farming club. She then took both of them to the monastery, where she was cared for when she was little. That place was abandoned, and the farming club only wanted to take care of them until someone adopted them. But it seems difficult. She has thought about keeping them for life. That made Joe have to encourage her. Meanwhile, Jace had arranged for Natsuki to meet him. He informed her that a demon was flying around the city and attacking other demons. The common trait of the attacked demons was that they had their diaphragm and kidneys eaten. Dimichi stated, "That's where the demon's soul concentrates. He knows who is behind this and will provide them with the information. In return, they must not let Kuro get involved in this because he knows she can't defeat that demon, and he can't let his beloved 4th Shinso die." Not long after, Kuro also helped the farming club find a home for the cats. A girl whom Joe knows informed them that the monastery where Kanon used to be had an incident, and Kanon was the only survivor. Kanon had just found another cat, but she could take care of this one by herself. Natsuki came to warn that bringing animals to school is prohibited, but she would let it slide if Joe went with her tonight. That night, you followed Natsuki as instructed. Since tonight is the festival and she believes the harmful demon will appear soon, she needs you to help deal with it. If you can't fly, she will help you out, and you just need to drop that demon. She then spotted the 2 demons they needed to catch appearing, so she told Itate to contact the fireworks people because they would fight in the air, and people would pay attention to the fireworks instead of them. Konatsuki then teleported them closer to the battle of the 2 demons, and when they got closer, they realized these 2 beings looked more like angels than demons. Konatsuki then threw chains to bind them, but it didn't seem to work much. She wanted Kuro to go up right away and not hold back if she didn't want to die. The tower was then knocked down by the angel, and Konatsuki had to use the chains to hold the tower back. Koshiro called the unicorn to attack, but the black-haired angel completely blocked it. Suddenly, the white-haired angel ambushed the black-haired angel and lunged to stab at the soul's location. As in previous incidents, the black-haired one managed to knock off the white-haired one's mask, helping Kuro realize that the white-haired one was Kanon. You tried to wake Kanon up, but she couldn't even control herself, and devoured that angel before flying away. The next morning, Kuro and Himazagi went to find Kan's father's research headquarters. Both of them got there and asked the receptionist to see the doctor, who is Kan's father. They were allowed to meet the doctor's assistant, and she informed them that the doctor was not on the island. She gave them the address where he was conducting research to find him. Both of them were then taken up in a plane to a small island. Himazagi seemed afraid of flying, so Kuro held her hand to comfort her. When both of them landed, the pilot left first and informed them that they had been deceived. Himezagi realized that the doctor was not up there, and Kuro had been lured off the island. They also made quite a mistake by not informing Natsuki in advance. Both of them needed to find food and water to survive, as the family seemed angry. They later found some bunkers on the beach. The shells were still new, so there definitely had been people here before. Both of them decided to camp inside a bunker, and the next thing to do was to find food. In the meantime, Suzaka went to that church to investigate Canon. Suddenly, Gotoubun was also there. He wanted to make a deal with her. He would give her her location, and she had to keep his identity a secret from those two. Suddenly, Nagisa and Asaji arrived. Asaji and Sasuke started arguing when one was called crazy for wanting to harm Ro, while the other was Ro's lover. At that moment, she was using a lightning lion to fish, splashing water all over Himezagi. She had prepared food, and it was all just coconuts. He had to eat temporarily, and remembered that today was Saturday, the day he had promised to model for Asaji. Not showing up would make Asaji go look for him, giving them more chances to be found. He still worried about Canon, even though he was the one in trouble right now. In the meantime, Asaji had extracted the camera footage and found out where Ro had been sent. Sasuke would soon send a boat there. The two girls then argued again, wanting to know the other's relationship with Ro. He woke up in the middle of the night, and, not seeing Himezagi anywhere, went to look for her. Jays advised the two girls to cease fire and find Ro first. Sasuke stated that she was currently acting as a bodyguard escorting the princess of Eastern Europe, Folia, who wanted to see Canon again. And at that moment, Ro happened to see a girl bathing under the moonlight. The thirst for blood in Ro surged once again. To wipe the blood from his nose, the girl disappeared. Himezagi appeared, pointing a spear at him, thinking he was peeping at her. He mentioned seeing a girl who looked like Canon but older over there. Himezagi borrowed his jacket and wanted to go look for her together. Trying to find both of them, they accidentally discovered a ship from the doctor sending a group of soldiers, who came out and opened fire on both of them. Seeing this group was definitely the enemy, Himezagi charged in first. She handled this group, but they still got back up to fight again. Ro came out to help and thought about using a beast, but the girl from before shot a bullet and took them all out. When she got to her, she introduced herself as Princess Folia and mentioned knowing Ro's identity as Shinsu IV. The robots earlier must have been following her. Ro now understood why they were so tough. She asked Ro to use the beast to sink that ship, since it was remotely controlled, so they wouldn't be able to take advantage. And there must be quite a few robots up there. Ro then had to go down to face them, and use the lion to destroy both the robots and the ship. In the meantime, the assistant from before had come to see the doctor, who was adjusting Canon to improve her further. And once it's done, Canon will be the strongest angel and serve very well for military warfare. She spoke about having captured Shinsu IV and could use him as a test subject for Canon's power. In the meantime, Folia had taken both of them to her ship. She drifted here after dodging an attack from the robots of that doctor. He was once a royal sorcerer in her family's palace, so most of the spells he knows require her royal blood to activate. The reason Canon looks like her is that Canon is her grandfather's daughter. 15 years ago, her grandfather had an affair with another woman and gave birth to Canon, so Canon can be considered a relative of Folia and also of royal lineage. Because of the situation with Canon, the palace is now in chaos, and Folia couldn't ignore it when she heard the doctor was adopting Canon. But she knew it was too late when she heard Koro say Canon had turned into a winged monster. According to Folia, the doctor created artificial angels by forcing humans to undergo a spiritual evolution to be reborn as a higher species. Suddenly, another ship arrived, and she accidentally called the beast to fight again, but the white flag was waved, and the doctor stepped out to meet all three. He stated that Canon had defeated and absorbed all 6 other artificial angels, and was about to reach the level of an angel. The organization of those two behind was having financial issues, so they had to invest in the doctor to get results. They then activated Canon to make her fight Koro because they wanted a beautiful description for their weapon, that the angel they created could defeat the strongest vampire. Himejiji rushed in to strike first because she thought Canon was created by magic. Her spear would break through, But it was useless. The blonde woman came to engage with Himejiji, and the previous pilot transformed into a beast form to confront Folia. Kanon targeted Koro. His beast could not destroy an entity that did not exist in this world. Just like that, Koro was shot through the body. Everyone thought the battle had ended very quickly. Kanon began to lose control, causing the three villains to flee. Kanon transformed into a whirlwind of ice. Himazagi had to try to wake Koro up. At this point, Sasaki had sneaked onto a ship of the weapons organization that the doctor collaborated with to find out where Koro and Himazagi were left behind. She coincidentally met Konatsuki here. Konatsuki informed Sasaki that an hour ago, they received a distress signal from Folia's ship. It seems Folia was with Kozo and Himazagi, but both of them discovered the ice whirlwind and knew Koro was in trouble again. When Megami had used her spear to create a shield to protect all three safely, but it was only temporary. Koro still hadn't woken up even though his wound had healed, but it left a scar. Folia noticed that there seemed to be a latent beast within Koro that could resist Kanon's power. So she would try to donate blood to him to awaken that beast. She took off her coat to stimulate Koro, but just when she was about to kiss him, Himazagi stopped her and chose to do it instead. She then drew a little blood from her hand and held it in her mouth to feed Koro. He was awakened and sprang up to suck Himejiji's blood, but that only helped him recover and fully awaken. It didn't awaken the beast. So Folia ordered him to suck her blood. He then saw that she seemed ready, so he did the same. He broke free from the ice shield and started to argue with the doctor about how he never cared for Kanon. But he claimed that because he cared for Kanon, he turned her into an angel so that no one could harm her. Wait, but who asked? While arguing, the two from the weapons organization interrupted to cut in. They had created 2 more replica angels. Without consulting the doctor, they would take Folia back to Cloner to create higher quality angels. Obviously, Koro would not let that happen. He would crush their ridiculous plan. This would be his battle. No, senpai. This is our battle. Himazagi once again stood to support him. She would deal with the blonde woman and the 2 replica angels, while Kanon was left for her to handle. She then rushed in to fight for control from the blonde woman. The woman told the beastman to help, but he had been shot by Folia. She then lunged to attack Folia. Just then, Folia activated the energy blade from her gun and slashed her, causing the control device to fall. Himazagi seized the opportunity to rush in and take the control device, while Folia condemned the blonde woman and gave her a finishing slash. Himejiji managed to control the 2 replica angels, and Koro summoned his new beast, which was a 2-headed dragon. The dragon bit off Kanon's 2 wings and pulled Kanon's power back into this space. Although it couldn't take down Kanon, pulling Kanon back into this space allowed Himazagi to hit Kanon and lock her magical energy. The divine energy within Kanon was released, and Koro had the dragon swallow all of it. He then approached the doctor and stated that whether he would be forgiven or not was up to Kanon to decide. Sasaki and Natsuki were also on their way to pick him and the others up, and Folia informed Kanon that she was family to Kanon Raz. She then interrogated the doctor, and he stated that he created the angels to eradicate Shinso from this world. And Koro heard that Miss Natsuki would be the new guardian for Kanon. Folia then came to say goodbye. She took the opportunity to kiss Koro, getting him in trouble when both Asagi and his sister Nagisa showed up. Everyone wanted him to give a satisfactory answer. He just wanted them to let him off the hook.